If you guys are unaware, there has been conspiracy, there has been speculation for many months now about Elon being on some sort of narcotic, specifically ketamine. In public, he looks kind of just strange. Well, he's already a strange individual, but he'll just be like, there are numerous videos of him just like looking around and just looking like a fucking he just looks like a video game character who wasn't programmed properly. He moves like a Fallout NPC sometimes, and people were speculating that he's on drugs, whether it be like recreational, whether it be like cocaine, ketamine, whatever it is. However, there is new reporting that basically describes Elon Musk as a full-blown drug addict to the point where he was doing so much ketamine that he was pissing his fucking pants. This is courtesy of Chris Hayes and MSNBC. The original reporting is courtesy of the New York Times.
The Oval Office for some kind of send-off with a black eye just hours.
That was because the joke online is that Stephen Miller punched him in the face for this joke online is that Stephen Miller punched Elon Musk in the face because he cucked him. He cucked Stephen Miller by taking his
after
wife.
New bombshell reporting on allegations of his voracious drug use. In a lengthy article citing people familiar with his activities, the New York Times reports that Musk's drug consumption went well beyond occasional use. He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder, a known effect of chronic use. I learned that today from the New York Times, didn't know that. He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. The Times adds that while his drug use on the campaign trail was more than occasional, it is unclear.
Can we just
stimulant
rewind
Adderall,
that?
according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it.
He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. This guy thinks that he is Jordan Belfort. I read this and I think of the intro monologue to The Wolf of Wall Street, where Leonardo DiCaprio is just talking about the tons and tons of drugs that he does. Cocaine to wake him up, weed to bring him back down, and morphine, well, because it's awesome. Elon Musk, if this reporting is true, has a serious drug problem. If you were doing recreational mushrooms, listen, do whatever you got to do, my man. I have no qualms about people doing drugs. I think that drugs should be legalized. And if you are someone who is addicted to hard narcotics, you should have a safe space for you to not only take these drugs, but trained medical professionals who can help wean you off of these drugs. But if you're on something like a little lighter, you smoke a little weed every now and then, you take you microdose mushrooms, like, and walk through the woods, whatever. But if you get to this point, you need help. You need help.
The Times adds that while his drug use on the campaign trail was more than occasional, it is unclear whether he was taking drugs when he became a fixture at the White House this year. Now, NBC News.
He definitely was. There's just no way that you're popping nearly 24 pills a day throughout the campaign trail, more than recreationally, and then all of a sudden, you're just going to stop. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. If you're a recreational drinker or you're a recreational pot smoker and you get a job that's drug tests you and you can't smoke weed anymore, you can stop doing that. Right? You can stop doing that. You can't just stop taking 20 pills a day, man.
Does not independently verify the Times reporting, but when NBC asked the White House if it sought drug testing for Musk before his government employment began, the White House did not directly respond. Musk was asked about the reporting today in the Oval, jumping in before the question was even done.
The president mentioned that you had to deal with all the slings and arrows during your time at Doge. There's this.
Well, some of the people, some of the media organizations in this room were the slingers.
Well, so there is a New York.
Bro, he laughs like a fucking Amanda Show character. I like that laugh.
Times report today that accuses you of blurring the line between.
Is the New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate? Is it the same organization?
I gotta check my Pulitzer. My Pulitzer account.
This is this is legitimately unnerving. This is strange. I feel uneasy watching this. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. This is not how. Like, again, this is not normal. This is strange, bro. I don't know if it's drug induced or maybe he like threw back a couple shots on his last day, but I'm just speculating here. He does not look like he is of sound state of mind. Like, if he went to go buy a house and the lawyer saw him acting like this, I don't know if the lawyer would allow the contract to be signed.
I think the judge just ruled against the New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times. Let's move on.
Okay, then
Next question.
For the record, the Pulitzer Times one has not been rescinded, and it was about the Trump-Russia connection. A judge ruled that Trump's defamation suit against the Pulitzer Board over awards given to coverage of Russian interference in the 2016 election can proceed, but that's all. Teddy Schleifer covers billionaires for the Times. He's covered Elon Musk extensively, and he joins me now. Teddy, I know it was your two colleagues that put this piece out today. You've been doing a lot of reporting on Musk and know him well and reported on him. I mean, I got to say it was kind of, it was one jaw-dropping revelation after another, and I just kept thinking, this guy's life seems like a lot.
Sped up the video, by the way. It's 7.5 minutes long.
With multiple women, there seems to be, according to the Times reporting, a very significant amount of drug use that even disturbed people in his life. And he's got like 10 jobs, I guess.
Yeah, and then there's the black eye, Chris. We can't forget that Elon took from one of those kids, apparently. Look, he has obviously a sprawling social life, and the reason why I think it matters for viewers or for Donald Trump or for Tesla or SpaceX shareholders is these companies are really the Elon Musk show. As we saw with Doge, it is the Elon Musk show. As we see with Tesla, a lot of people buy stock in Tesla because they believe in Elon Musk. So his personal life is very much commingled.
There were legitimate murmurs from Tesla investors that feared Elon Musk's behavior as a government employee would tank the company. And those fears were almost realized. In the 6 months after Donald Trump won the election, I think Tesla shares fell by nearly 50%. They have since rebounded. However, that does kind of coincide with his time in government coming to an end, and also Doge was getting less coverage in the media, whether that be because they were doing less and less, or whether that be that the media just got bored of it. Elon is an influencer. He is an IG model to the grandest degree. His business success, as this gentleman was just saying, is entirely wrapped up in his public image. The reason why his businesses were lauded and praised back in 2017, 18, 19 is because he seemed to be a genuinely compassionate person who was doing these things and starting these types of ventures for the betterment of humanity. Since then, something broke and he just became a tremendous narcissist, a conspiracy theorist, an out and about racist. None of that is good for any of his businesses, especially because none of the products that he offers are good enough to overshadow that. Remember, there is no such thing as ethical consumption under capitalism. However, if the CEO of Toyota came out to be a Nazi, I don't know how detrimental it would be, because Toyota is still one of the premier car manufacturers in America. I mean, Henry Ford was an out and about Nazi, and it did not tank his business. Elon Musk's business career is entirely subsidized by the taxpayer, whether that be SpaceX, whether that be Tesla. The Boring Company doesn't fucking do anything. Hyperloop doesn't fucking do anything. Neuralink has killed like 100 chimpanzees since they started injecting them into there. It's the investors who want Elon Musk to step back from politics as much as I think it is him being a little thin-skinned baby who cannot take the criticism that comes with being a public figure to this degree.
Corporate life, and it's impossible to assess Elon's ability to lead these companies if you don't know things about how many drugs he is doing.
I mean, there's also just, I mean, independent reporting. None of it. There's a little.
I don't give a fuck if he's the CEO of these companies. He's not the one responsible for the success of these companies. Well, he kind of is, yes, because if he does have this much influence over his companies, certainly like he's going to try to interject himself into every little bit. But the engineers at Tesla design the cars. The designers design the cars. Same thing with SpaceX. Elon Musk is just the money pit for these companies. He's the faucet. He's the funds faucet for these companies. As a CEO, your job is infinitely easier than literally every other fucking employee who generates that value for your company.
A little bit of like a common sense alarm that goes off in my head about the following. This is an individual who has 5 or 6 companies he's running, right? The Boring Company and Neuralink and Tesla and SpaceX. And he's also running this operation at the government. He's got a video game system installed in the office that he gets in the EOB while he's apparently taking a lot of drugs and is managing a private life that involves like over a dozen children with multiple women. Like at a certain point, you start to feel like, can he really be doing all this? Actually?
Well, I mean, there's been some credible reporting that he's not even really playing the video game, so I think that's an important caveat here on the Elon Musk resume. That'd be the most damaging thing I say today. But look, I mean, Musk clearly is a believer that there's in the Messiah complex here, right? The reason why he got involved in the Trump campaign is because he believed that he could save Western civilization from the problems of illegal immigration and crime, and only he can fix it. He even said that if he lost in Wisconsin in that judicial race earlier this year, that American Western civilization would crumble. The reason why he is so overextended, I think, is related to the way he sees his role in the world, which is if I don't create Tesla, no one's going to create Tesla. If I don't create XAI, no one's going to create XAI. And if I don't save, America from crippling deficits and debt, then Donald Trump is cooked. So, the reason why
Bro just dropped cooked on MSNBC. Real. I guess this is like a Messiah complex. Yes, I think that Elon Musk is just tremendously narcissistic. I do agree with this gentleman's interpretation where like, oh, if I don't create the electric car, nobody's going to do it. Even though legacy car manufacturers are now creating electric vehicles and they're infinitely better than Tesla. However, we do have to acknowledge the formative role that Tesla played in electric vehicle manufacturing. Like I myself considered getting a Tesla a couple of years ago because I think that electric vehicles are the future. And I think that Elon Musk spurring that transition is an overall benefit, right? But he has not tried to innovate further beyond that. Like he wants to dabble in all of these different things because he thinks that he's the only one who can do that. Even though SpaceX, they just had a fucking rocket blow up. NASA does aerospace better than Elon Musk does. It's also tremendously narcissistic of him to get involved in the Trump administration because he needs to save Western civilization, but he doesn't understand like politics to any degree. I'm not saying that I'm an enlightened intellectual, but the way that he thinks you save Western civilization is entirely antithetical to actually, quote unquote, preserving Western civilization. He sees Western civilization as whiteness. He wants to preserve whiteness by having more white people reproduce. That is the extent of his political ideology. If he were serious about improving the United States, he would not be involved with the Trump administration because he would be too left-wing to be involved with the Trump administration. He would be advocating for literally Bernie Sanders ideology. Instead, he is quite actually the antithesis to that, and he is only further degrading the United States and further plunging us into political and economic unrest.
In fact, having so many children based on our reporting is in part because of this belief that, he is the type of person who should kind of continue to populate the world. So these things are not just coincidental. He is doing all these things motivated by a core belief.
That's eugenics, by the way. We're gonna clear that up. Elon thinking that he is the type of person who should populate the world is classic eugenics. And again, he does practice, like, he is a eugenicist. He does practice eugenics. This is not a revelation.
Kind of his own power.
There's a really interesting nugget in this reporting that speaks to what I think is sort of a scandal, or at least as alleged, that Mr. Musk's aerospace firm SpaceX is a large government contractor. It must maintain a drug-free workforce, which, by the way, is a program I have some real policy objections to. It administers random drug tests to its employees, but Mr. Musk has received advanced warning of the tests, according to people close to the process. SpaceX did not respond to questions about those warnings. That's a pretty notable find in the reporting there.
Yeah, I mean, my colleagues, Kirsten and Megan, did a great job of excavating that fact. And obviously, that would be true even if Elon Musk was not at the Department of Government Efficiency, right? I mean, he is going to be going back to SpaceX, today or tomorrow, or maybe is already there. And that you would think that if SpaceX read this New York Times story, their policies might change, but maybe not.
SpaceX.
No, dude, because hello, wake the fuck up. This is Trump too, baby. Anyone who is a dick rider, who's twerking on it, who's bouncing on it, anyone who's doing 3 sets of 12 on it is getting preferential treatment. Donald Trump is just going to say, don't drug test Elon. He's my homeboy.
By the way, we should say in the new budget, some of the details of which we got further today, later in the day, would likely stand to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of enormous cuts to NASA that are being proposed by Donald Trump as Elon Musk goes out the door. Just one of the many obvious conflicts, probably the biggest in terms of government contracts.
That's great.
With Elon Musk and the government. Teddy Schleifer, the New York Times. Thank you so much.
Wow. You mean to tell me that SpaceX is getting preferential treatment because Elon Musk is clapping his ass on Donald Trump's dick? Wow. Who would have thought the same guy who tried to get the FAA to use Starlink instead of Verizon is getting all of this money that NASA would be infinitely more efficient with?